YouTube. I'm Rick Stivers of YoungMartin'sReels. Today's project is going to be something a little bit different. Well, actually, we got a little bit, yeah. I don't know how many of you might remember this reel. This is the Disassemble reel that I tested out. I've been in test for a year now. And I pulled it off the shelf of the boat this year and brought it in. And we're going to tear it down and look at it again. But that's not for this video. I plan to do the same kind of deal with this reel. This reel is, you can pronounce that any way you want to. DEUKIO? I don't know. Anyway, it's a DS6000 reel. Let's talk a little bit about how I came about this reel. I was browsing through the internet and I came across Temu, which is a site similar to Amazon. It's a Japanese or Chinese run thing. And they were advertising a Shimano reel for $24. I said, wow, it's a Shimano reel for 24 bucks. I said, I can't hardly pass that up. So I went ahead and I ordered one. Well, when it came in, this is what arrived. This is not a Shimano reel. This is a DEUKIO reel. But I will say this, it actually feels like a halfway decent quality reel. I do think it's a plastic reel. I don't think it's carbon fiber. I think it's plastic, although it is very rigid and very strong. So it could be a carbon fiber reel. But I like the handle that's on it. There's not too much about the reel I don't like, except for the fact that it doesn't say Shimano on it, and it should. Now, for 24 bucks, you can't get hardly hurt on it for a reel. But what we're going to do is I'm going to do the same thing with this one that I did with the Disassemble, and take it all apart. We're going to examine it, look at how it's made, see what the quality of the parts inside it are, and then I'm going to service it, and we're going to put it into service on my boat for the next year and see how it performs. So I will say this, it has already survived about 4 drops off of the top of my toolbox because my parts box is right behind that toolbox, and I keep flipping up the lid, forgetting this was up there and knocking it into the floor. So it has survived 4 really hard drops and still seems to be working fine. So anyway, let's get started on this thing and see where we're going. Let's start off by taking off the drag and see what we got in here for drag. I'm almost certain it has to be felt drag washers. Okay, let's see what we got. Well, that's a decent looking star. Okay, let's take that out and let's see what we have for drag washers. Yep, definitely felt drag washers. And see, that's what I suspected was the case. This is what I found with the Disassemble, is they put that reel together and they didn't put any lubricants in it. It looks like they put just like 1 drop of oil on the very first, on the top washer, and then none. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to put this together and we're going to oil these like they should be, so that when this reel goes out there, it has a shot of making it in the world. Okay, if you do not supply lubrication to a reel, it's not going to survive. Okay, let's put the next one in. Let's put the eared washer in, and then we'll put this final partially oiled drag washer in. Okay, once those get pulled down nice and tight, that oil should saturate out to the rest of it. Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, axle shaft. I'm not crazy about the fit on the axle shaft, but it's not that bad. Okay, let's go ahead and pull this off in case we need it off. We do not have a lock for the nut on here, so I'm a little disappointed by that. Okay, let's see about taking the handle off. I think it's going to be a screw down handle, if I remember correctly. Cross through. Okay, take that out. We're going to put a drop or 2 of oil on this because it doesn't appear that there is any. Okay. And now let's see about removing the side plate screws. Let's see if this fits up inside, or let me turn on some more light. Okay. Yep, it's going to go up inside, so we've got to remove this nut. Let's see what size that is. Not. Okay, it is reverse threaded. Okay, so that's got the nut off. Now we should be able to take the rotor off, and we did. Okay, now with that off, yeah, see, we've got one more screw up underneath the rotor. It's going to have to come out. All right, now we should be able to take off the side cover. There we go. Okay, it has a shielded bearing, not a sealed, but a shielded bearing. We do have grease on the main gear. Okay, we're going to remove this grease from this screw right here. And then we're going to remove the screw. Before I do, I want to see, okay, the only slop that's in that axle shaft is just on the crosswind gear moving on the crosswind block. Okay, we'll set that over there. Pull out the axle shaft, set that with that screw, and we will go ahead. Oh, look, we got this block over here. All right. I saw a luge. I took a luge apart yesterday that had failed miserably, and it had this same exact layout for that. Okay, let's take out the axle shaft. We're going to wipe all that old grease out. I'm going to put some compatible, hopefully compatible grease in. Okay, there. All right, now it does have plastic bushings. Plastic bushing there. Now we had a bearing on the main gear, not a bushing. We had a bearing over here, and we had a bushing on that side. Okay, we're going to stick with the bushing. I could probably change it out with a bearing, but I'm not, because I want to see how well this reel can do out in the wild on its own. Okay, we're going to remove these 3 screws that are holding down the anti-reverse. And I'm probably going to want to go ahead and remove this little spring right here. See that spring? I think I'm probably going to want to go ahead and remove that prior to taking this the rest of the way apart. Let's see what happens when we flip this way. Okay. All right, I'm going to try to get in from behind it. Lift it out and off. There we go. Okay, now that spring's going to be real easy to lose, so we're going to take it off. And I'm going to put it onto a safety pin so that it will not disappear. Yeah, my safety pin's looking a little grody. I used it to open up my Gorilla Glue bottle yesterday. Okay, set that over to the side. Put that in that position. We should be able to lift this out. There we go, the whole thing. Everything came out as one. We're going to sit this down. I'm going to take it apart. All right, we've got that taken out now. And all right, these 2 cogs right here, that's going to be for anti-reverse. No, what is that? Normally that would be, but I don't think so in this instance. No, that's just to lock it into the case. Okay, those 3 just lock this into the case. Okay, this is a bearing. All right. That's not, or is that an anti-reverse? Let's take a look. Let's take this off first. And let's set this. I don't think it's anything but a regular bearing. Okay, this sleeve come out from down here. There we go. There's your anti-reverse. Okay, this is just a regular bearing. All right. This is your anti-reverse here. Okay. And it lifts up and out this way. And you can see, okay. And many years from now, see those little fingers in there? They're going to deteriorate, and that will be the end of this. This is the way they were making them many, many years ago, but not now. Okay. Set that down. There's the sleeve that goes on. And then, instead of a bearing, they put a bushing. Okay. Not thrilled about that, but I would be happy with it if it was a bronze bushing, but it's not. Okay. And that's all the parts. Everything except for our rotor, and we'll come back to that after everything else is reassembled. I'm going to clean up these parts real quick, and it will not take long, and we'll be right back to you. All right, parts are clean, and we're ready to start assembly. So we're going to start off with this pinion gear. I'm going to slide this bushing on. I'm going to put just a little bit of grease on here because obviously something should be sliding, although the bushing doesn't feel like it wants to slide on the pinion gear very well. So maybe that means the bushing is supposed to be sliding inside the housing. I don't know. That's kind of different. We'll go ahead and put a little grease on the bushing on the outside. Normally that's not the case. So, all right, we're going to slide this guy on. There we go. That's our sleeve for anti-reverse. Okay, there's the anti-reverse. Now, this has a little trace of grease in there, and I have come to the decision that I'm going to grease these whether they ask you to or not. And some people will tell you, oh no, it's a friction device, you never want to grease that. Well, I've had much better luck greasing them than I have not greasing them. So we're going to slide this anti-reverse on. There we go. And it works. Okay. Let's now go ahead and put on this piece. This locks this in now, like so. And now all of that is back together. So now what we have to do is slide this back in with this little arm. See this little arm right here? That has got to go in between these two notches right over here. And with these three legs have got to go into these three that are on here in the case. Okay, so that didn't work. Okay, so let's try again. Let's see here how we get this to maneuver around. We want those to go in there. Okay, so far it's not going together properly. Okay, so let's take bearing off. Okay, so we need to get this arm set into place where it needs to be prior to setting these back in, like so. Like that. Okay, then slide this down because that will give you the proper orientation on that. Bearing, bearing retainer. And now we should be able to slide this in. Like so, with that arm going where it needs to go. like that. Okay, so now this piece is over here where it belongs. And we're ready to reinstall that spring. It should be fun. Okay, we're going to start off by getting this side on there, like that. Then we're going to come back and hook this side here, and hopefully get it to slide on. Easier said than done, huh? Okay, try it once again. There we go. That's got that spring hooked back on there. Now when this flips, there you go, the spring stretches it over. Okay, so in that position, do we have anti-reverse? No. In that position, we do. We now have instant anti-reverse. In this position, no anti-reverse. All right, so that's working beautifully. Let's go ahead and reattach this plate. And we got to figure out how it went on. Okay, there's a notch there and a notch there. All right, those should line up. There we go, had it upside down. And you can even see the screw marks on it. Okay. And that is not good because it's locked up. So something isn't quite right. I believe that I put the bearing holder in backwards. Okay, we don't want the whole thing out. Okay. There. Yeah, that puts the bearing holder further down in there. Okay, so let's try this again. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and add some oil to the bearing. Let's go ahead and lubricate this oscillation gear all the way around, all the teeth. And the face, like so. Let's set the crosswind block in with a little lubricant. Make sure it goes over top of that post on the crosswind gear. We've cleaned up this main gear, which actually looks, it's heavier than you would think. It's actually a fairly decent quality gear. It feels like it's not, that is not junk metal. It's heavy. It might even be a stainless steel gear. So, if nothing else, it's at least steel. Okay, put some out here. And let's slide. Oh, hang on. We need some on the pinion. Okay, let's put some grease on the pinion. And there's probably enough on that main gear to have greased this, had I forgotten it. But this way we know it's got plenty of lube. Okay, slide that in. There we go. Let's put the rotor back into place. Slide that down. Where is, okay, there's our rotor nut. And remember, it's reverse threaded. Oh, that's right. We used a wrench to do that, didn't we? Okay, that still turns freely. Let's back it up to put our anti-reverse, or oh, that's what we're missing. When we go to set this crosswind block in here, it's supposed to have this guide sleeve on it. Okay, so let's try putting this in again. Okay, guide sleeve in. Well, it looks like it's just going to sit in there. Okay, so let's set the guide sleeve in. There we go, and it drops into a slot right there. Now, let's go ahead and set our crosswind gear in. So we got to slide that over the bar, slide that in. Okay, that's got us in there in a reasonable facsimile where we should be. Now, we're going to put our axle shaft in. Let's oil it first. Spin it going in. Make sure it's got plenty of lube all the way around it. Line the flat up. The flat should be on the top side. There's the hole. And we are going to put this screw into the axle shaft. Now, this is going to slide on this bar here, so let's go ahead and give it some lubrication there, and it's going to slide on this plastic part on this side. So there we go, and we'll put a little bit there in case it rubs on the motor, and just in case we get a little bit of water contamination in there, let's put some on the back side of that. All right, now let's put our shim back on. And we'll put our bearing back on, and let's oil the bearing. And I think we're ready to put the side plate cover back on. Oh no! Well, maybe, no, because we got to put that screw in. Okay. All right. Okay, axle shaft went in. Now we're supposed to put the side cover on before we put the rotor on. Okay. This back in place. Okay, we have 4 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they all appear to be exactly the same. Let's go ahead and put those in. Let's go ahead at this point and let's check our rotor and make sure that we are not bent or anything, because it did take several falls off the top. So we'll take this screw out, separate this. Okay, now it's not bent. It fits in there pretty real nice. Okay. So we'll put that back in. All right, let's go ahead. Put a shot of oil here. Put a shot of oil around the head, because these appear to be just regular steel screws, and you don't want them to rust if you can help it. And then we'll put a shot of oil up here on the roller, the line roller. All right. Now we're going to put our rotor back on. Put the nut back on. Remember, it's reverse threaded. And it really should have some kind of locking device on that, I think. I've seen way too many of these come loose over the years. Okay, let's go ahead and install our drag clicker and our shim. Oh, before we put this on, remember when we took this off, I commented on the really nice star washer that they had. Well, I never put it back in. So let's go ahead and do that now. There we go. Make sure that it comes up and latches into the grooves like it should, like that. All right. Put the rotor back on, get it to drop down in place, and let's put our drag knob back on. All right. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and give this a shot of oil on here. That'll help keep this from drying out and make it difficult later to get out. Steel on steel, maybe. I don't know what we got in there, but let's make sure. Okay. Now, let's go ahead, tighten down the nut. Anti-reverse, working. See if that is. Okay. Not bad. I've seen better. All right. Now, some of you are going to ask, if you stuck around the video long enough, some of you are going to ask, what is the point? Why are you showing us this piece of junk reel? Well, first off, it actually seems to be much better than a standard piece of junk. If you compare this piece of junk reel to the piece of junk reels of, say, the 1980s and the 1990s, man, this thing is hands and feet above, head and shoulders, whatever the word is, what those pieces of junk reels were. So this is actually a fairly decent quality reel. I mean, compared to a nice Shimano or a nice Penn, no, probably not. But for somebody who wants to get out and go started fishing, who doesn't even know if they like it or not. This is an excellent, excellent choice to get out there and give it a try. But it does, if I was going to use this, I would probably leave all the internals alone with this. The only thing I would do, that I would recommend you do if you got one of these, is to take the rotor off, open up the drag, and oil those drag washers, because otherwise they're going to fail rather quickly. I don't know if I got enough oil on those drag washers yet. I may have to go back and look at it again, but I think I've got enough. I think it's going to work okay. Yeah, it's going to be fine. But without proper lubricant in there, they're going to collect moisture, and when they collect moisture and leave them on there, it's going to cause all that to rust and corrode up, and everybody's going to say, hey, what a piece of garbage reel. Well, it's really not. It's actually a pretty nice reel. I'm not real crazy about plastic bushings, but hey, there's been bottom line reels made for many, many, many years that work just fine with plastic bushings. So I'm reasonably happy with the thing. So I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, please hit the like button. If you didn't, hit the dislike button. Tell me what you didn't like about it. And for now, that's Rick Stivers with Young Martin's Reels, signing out.